Hello. I'm going to cover four more sections or chapters in Thus Spake Christopher, my treatise on non-dualism and theory and practice. So let's see if I can share my screen. And I just need to do a couple of quick adjustments here. And I'm ready to go. So I'm at my website, www.docbenton.com, at the section, The Best of Doc Benton. And down here you find Thus Spake Christopher. You can right-click on that and download the whole thing, or you can listen to me read it. It's not that long. So now I'll start with chapter 17. So, chapter 17, the man then asked, "How many souls exist?" I began to answer. Years ago, a famous physicist, having noted that all electrons appear to be absolutely identical with respect to measurable properties, speculated that perhaps there exists only one single electron, appearing simultaneously at different locations in space-time. Similarly, some ancient thinkers have speculated that there are certain patterns that are the same, but that appear in contexts that are different. For example, the pattern of one thing opposite another connected through a principle of interaction is the same whether we are talking about water, fire, and air, which becomes steam when water and fire interact, or the belly, which is water, the head, which is fire in the brain, and the lungs, which are air, or winter, which is cold, summer, which is hot, and spring, fall, which both are temperate in between. In a similar manner, one might say there is only one soul appearing in many vessels throughout space-time. We can conclude this because the awareness within each of us is the same when we completely merge with it. In such a state, all divisions and distinctions disappear. It is only when we are in the world of duality that we can give awareness characteristics such as being a particular body, or even the characteristic of awareness itself. But when merged in a state of pure awareness with no distinctions, there is also no difference. Hence, it is written in the Book of Writings that the soul is the lamp of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and in the Book of Radiance that God is the soul and spirit of all. Thus, I see all souls as an expression of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and awareness as an intrinsic property that drives creation, rather than being a derivative of creation as some believe. This is how I experience it, but reality is vast, and new people will eventually come along with new experiences and new explanations that are far better than mine. So it has been, and so it will likely always be. Also, if you believe that there is no soul, then I agree with that belief too, because awareness is no thing. Hence, both perspectives are correct. Thus spake Christopher. The man then asked, "How should children be raised?" I began to answer. Whether one is an adult or a child, the answer is the same. All people need a good code of conduct to adhere to. Different cultures have different ideas about how one should live one's life, but amidst all those differences, one will generally find ethics and advice that tend to be common to all. Thus, study the ethics and practices of several cultures. Choose among those the things that will promote life, and use them to generate your own list of beneficial actions. This is particularly important for children who will flourish if they are on a good path. It is a good practice to write down a list of ethics and behaviors that you want to follow. And as you grow older and understand more, your list of behaviors to follow may grow and change. Nonetheless, always seek those actions that will make yourself and the world better. And in this way, you can create for yourself a good structure and a good path that can save you from much harm. Furthermore, avoid risky behavior. As it says in the wisdom books, Can one walk on hot coals and not be burned? Thus spake Christopher. Chapter 19. The man then asked, "What are the different levels of the soul?" I began to answer. Some would say that there is no soul, while others say there is. To me, both viewpoints are correct, because what others call the soul, I see as the undefinable awareness that lies at the core of our being. And because that awareness is undefinable, it is no thing. Also, from an absolute point of view, there are no levels to the soul. But from other points of view, there are. The nature of the awareness inside of us is undefinable. And so we also call it Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the four Hebrew letters of the unpronounceable name. Nonetheless, we sense this life within us. And so over time, we naturally give that unknowable awareness characteristics. And we say things like, I am tall, or I am short, or I am a man, or I am a woman. But in reality, what I call the soul is none of these things. It is only I am, pure beingness without any identification with attributes. What we do with ourselves, we also do with God as Elohim, the Hebrew name for the God that we describe with attributes. Because we do not fully understand the intrinsically ineffable nature of God as Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, every culture creates their own version of God Elohim that they give characteristics to, such as male or female, or loving or judging. But the truth is that Elohim is really Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, as we similarly are all the same indefinable awareness within, an awareness that has no parts and hence no levels. Still, as we grow and mature, our understanding of things changes. And it is those changes in both experience and understanding that are being referred to when someone talks about different levels of the soul. In some writings, people have talked about 5 levels. The beginning level is what I call the vital soul. This is what we start out life with. And the vital soul's awareness is primarily of the individual and its environment. However, as we get closer to adulthood, we become more aware of others in society, and we begin to develop what I call the moral soul. At this level, we are expected to be responsible adults because we can now better understand the feelings of others and the consequences that our actions have upon them. Some people, however, have a very imperfect moral soul and fail to progress to the next level, which is the spiritual soul. This is the level at which one begins to feel a greater connection with the cosmos and begins to have what we can only describe as spiritual experiences. Experiences of deep love and wisdom and understanding and connection. Only a minority of humanity might firmly reach this point, even though many touch upon it from time to time. Beyond this, however, is an even greater level called the living soul. This level begins when one starts to become aware that they too are just a part of something greater, something that cannot be contained within a single human body. And just as we sit around and observe our various bundles of thought, so we and many others that we know may be simply bundles of thought within yet some larger, more multidimensional expression of the life of the worlds. And yet there is still one more level beyond this one, and it is called the unified soul. This is the level where one realizes that they have never left and are always connected with Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. Furthermore, it is possible to be aware of all these different levels simultaneously. One can sit and be aware of oneself, of others, of the spiritual perfection that surrounds them, of connections to something larger that can't be contained within just their body, and also of the unknowable essence of life and being that one is always connected with and always a part of. This is what is meant by the levels of the soul. Thus spake Christopher. Chapter 20. The man then asked, "What did Solomon mean by vanity of vanities, all is vanity?" I began to answer. Many view Solomon as a man who was old and depressed and who no longer found joy in anything. However, in my opinion, nothing could be further from the truth. In my view, Solomon was supremely enlightened. He saw that most things in this world are lacking in substance, and that left to itself, the world progresses through a myriad of cycles that endlessly repeat themselves. He saw that happiness is not found in material acquisitions that simply vanish as the wheel turns once again, but instead that true happiness is always experienced in the meaningful pleasures of the moment, such as the food one enjoys, or the spouse one loves, or the work that helps one grow. Furthermore, the English word vanity is a poor way to translate the Hebrew word hevel. The former comes from the Latin translation of the original Hebrew text into vanitas vanitatum omnia vanitas. But this translation as vanity easily misses the essence of what is being said. The word hevel literally means vapor. It would be more accurate to say in English that everything in this world is nothing more than hot air. Solomon, in my opinion, wished to convey that much of what is in this world is lacking in substance, and hence is not worth worrying about. In the Book of Commentaries, though, the sages remark that those things are reflections of passing conditions, such as the shadow cast by a flock of birds, are indeed without substance. But those things that are reflections of permanent conditions, analogous to the shadow cast by an old tree or mountain, do have substance. However, the only thing that's truly permanent, permanent is Yud Vav He, the life and soul within us. And what would be meaningful reflections of this life-giving awareness? One must surely say things such as love and oneness and charity and righteousness. These things have substance in this world, while most other things do not. Furthermore, while everything under the sun, i.e., everything in this physical world, moves in cycles, one's personal creativity springs out of the void, and hence must be counted as above the sun. In other words, each of us is in this world to express our own unique creativity. And it is a sad thing indeed if we get completely swept up by the whirlwinds of other people's drama instead. Thus, focus on love and charity and kindness to others, and on the kind of learning that develops the mind and your personal creativity in positive ways that bring you closer to Yud Vav He. See too the beauty and perfection of the present moment, and then you won't have to worry so much about the rest or the many whirlwinds involving others. Thus spake Christopher. Okay, so that completes the next set of 4 chapters. So I'll stop there and let me end my sharing. And I'm back. I hope you enjoyed that or getting something good out of it. I seem a little tongue-tied during this session, but as we say, all things will pass. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you again for more sessions. In the meantime, as always, so long and be well.